It's been called the toughest one-day off-road race on the planet. Since its birth in 2007, King of the Hammers has grown from a single race with 12 competitors to a week-long celebration of off-road mayhem. What was once an idea to overcome the impossible, Ultra 4, emerging from blood, sweat, destruction, man and machine, thriving in an environment others dare to enter. Adaptation, survival, spawned from necessity. Tens of thousands have gathered in Hammertown to witness the speed, the power, the carnage, and ultimately history. As the world's best off-road drivers go to battle, to see who will be crowned King of the Hammers. Every sport has their proving ground. In off-road racing, Johnson Valley in the Mojave Desert has become the proving ground for a whole new generation of off-road racers looking to make a name for themselves in the most grueling and prestigious off-road event in the world, King of the Hammers.
We're out at the 2020 King of Hammers, and so this place is absolutely insane. It brings the baddest racers from all across the country for the worst rock race in the world.
There's no desert like Johnson Valley. I mean, there's so many different types of terrain. The rocks is the big thing. They got multiple rock canyons and the whoops and the high-speed stuff, and then you got lake beds where you can run 130 miles an hour or whatever.
They definitely don't have this type of terrain in Texas. You know, we came out here a couple of times pre-running trying to learn it a little bit, but you don't know what to expect until you come and experience it for yourself.
Since its birth in 2007, King of the Hammers has grown from a single race with 12 competitors to a week-long celebration of off-road mayhem featuring more than 500 race teams and 5 main events: the UTVs, the Everyman Challenge, T1s, the Unlimited 4400 class, and motos. Called the Hammer Trails, the legendary extreme off-road trails of Johnson Valley offers some of the most difficult terrain in the world.
Terrain is super rough. This race is gnarly. You know, they're trying to make you brake.
Trails consisting of large boulders, steep ledges, narrow sections, and sandy hills challenge not only driving skills, but the durability of one's vehicle.
You know, have a different respect for how tough the machines are. I mean, they take a beating out here and they just keep going.
The starting line for King of the Hammers is in a massive makeshift city that emerges from the desert. A place where tens of thousands of spectators and competitors alike converge to be a part of off-road history. A place they call Hammertown.
Hammertown's insane. Look around, this place is crazy. When we got here on Monday, there was maybe 4 or 5 campers here, and now by the end of the week, there's gonna be 65,000 people here. It's like a small city, it's nuts.
Today, the largest class of competitors at King of the Hammers will take to the hills to determine who is the best driver. The UTV class, once comedically referred to as the golf carts, has now become one of the most competitive and exciting races of the week. Due to advancements in technology and the sheer popularity of UTV racing.
I came to this event last year and was just blown away. It's like a Mad Max video, or it's Burning Man with horsepower. You know, it's pretty wild. I was pretty blown away. This year we got some great weather. I would have never thought I was going to compete in this event, to be honest. And so it's good to be here. And so far it's been a great experience.
A favorite in the UTV class, Can-Am driver Phil Blurton is not only a talented racer, but a highly specialized builder and designer.
You know, originally I never even planned to get into building UTVs. My dad bought a UTV and I was like, what are we gonna do with this thing? I drove it down here, I had a blast in it, came home. When he wasn't there, I put a cage on it, went out the next weekend, raced it. We had some local dealers ask about the parts that we were putting on it that I wasn't even planning on selling. and it just took off to where now that we're like a full UTV dedicated race shop. I'm racing a Can-Am Maverick X3, the RC car version. It comes with a front locker, comes with a winch, kind of beef all the suspension components up and then put a roll cage on it for safety. But for the most part, fairly stock car, just with some of our bolt-on parts on it.
Also racing in the UTV class is Cameron Steele, who happens to be driving a Can-Am custom built by Phil Blurton.
The car we built for Cameron Steele, he called me maybe a month ago and said, hey, you think we could put this UTV together? And I was like, sure, I'm in. I was thinking I was gonna just ship him a bunch of my parts, and then all of a sudden he's like, come to my shop and build the car. It's got all of our just bolt-on off-the-shelf parts on it. Pretty much the same as the car I've been pre-running down here all year. I think it should be a solid race car.
Bill driving his own creation. I mean, that's what you want to see when you're coming through a section. You don't want to see it too squatted out. You don't want to see it too high. You don't want to see refracting like this. You don't want to hear it hitting on the bottom. You want to have that plush setup that just feels good, and looks like Phil nailed it out of the gate.
Cameron will be competing in all 5 main events this week.
Cameron racing every class is crazy. I think it sounds awesome. I'd love to do it. The time he's here is insane. But yeah, he's got to bounce from all these different cars that handle differently. You know, he's going to go from a solid axle car in the Legends class, then he's going to go into a 4400 car that's like probably one of the nicest 4400 cars out here. And then I guess to really top it off, go on a dirt bike. So it seems crazy to me.
That's my driving partner, Bailey Cole, right there.
Still to come on the Can-Am UTV King of the Hammers. The qualifying round determines the starting order for the main event. King of the Hammers brings together a massive and diverse family of off-road racers and race teams, including the 2020 Dakar champion, Casey Curry from California.
Dakar was crazy. It was amazing, and to win it as the first American, it's pretty crazy and surreal. So being back here at the Hammers and getting all the love we've gotten, it's been an amazing experience.
Curry enjoys reconnecting with industry friends and taking in the Hammers atmosphere. But make no mistake, the Curry family comes to win at KOH, the toughest one-day off-road race in the world.
I love the challenge. I love the aspect of everyone hanging out and enjoying it. You know, a lot of our friends, we camp all together, and it's a lot more than just racing at this point. This is one of the only events that through the whole year that get to come out and just enjoy it and have fun through the whole week, and then hammer down when we need.
The UTV field this year includes a group of high-profile short course racers who are expected to perform well in qualifying, but will have their work cut out for them in the main event against tougher terrain and more experienced drivers.
There's a lot of big dogs out here racing, so not only does it bring the fastest guys from out west, the Guthries that have won it many years, Phil Blurton, guys that ride out here regular, but it brought a lot of guys from back east where we're from that we build cars for, the Miller brothers, Cheney, like all these guys, super fast in their respective form of racing, coming out here for the biggest rock race of the year.
Qualifying for the Can-Am UTV class involves speed trials that ultimately determine the starting order for the main event. A driver's starting position is vital. The highest qualifiers benefit from less dust in the air and less UTV congestion in the most technical sections of the course.
So basically the qualifying is like half of the race. If you don't start in the top 5, top 10, you're gonna be behind 10 to 20, 30 guys that are gonna be stuck in the middle of the only line to get by out there, and you're just gonna be minutes, hours behind the leader.
"131 UTVs hit the starting line one by one to lay down the fastest qualifying lap, while still preserving their cars for race day. Cody and Hunter Miller are considered two of the fastest short course UTV racers in the country.
Having part of the qualifying loop as a short course definitely helps us, but there's not too much. I think there's 2 or 3 turns that's short course. The rest of it's pretty gnarly rock, and there's quite a few option lines, so we're gonna do the best we can. I mean, sprinting's kind of our strong suit, so even though it's rocks, we can plow our way through it, I think.
Qualifying first and second, the Miller brothers secured pole position for the main event. Cody and Hunter will start off the line side by side in the 143-mile race against 130 other competitors. Coming up on the Can-Am UTV King of the Hammers, the UTV main event goes down and carnage ensues. Who will be out front in the clean air? And who will get stuck in the chaos? Stay tuned to find out. This episode of World of X Games is brought to you by Can-Am, 4-Wheel Parts, Optima Batteries, and Monster Energy. Welcome back to the Can-Am UTV King of the Hammers on World of X Games. Hammertown in Johnson Valley, California, is buzzing the morning of the UTV main.
The biggest things out here is the spectators and the fans and everyone watching. Like, you know, there's Backdoor and Chocolate Thunder, super easy to get to, and, you know, you get there on race day and it's just lined with people in the canyon.
I think they did a great job on the course. It's going to be a lot of fun. I think the UTV race is going to be fast, and it's going to take a perfect day to win it.
Today, over 130 competitors will hit the starting line, 2 at a time, side by side. While yesterday's qualifying round was a short time trial, today's race is a whole different animal. 143 miles through all different types of terrain: desert, whoops, sand, rocks, and chutes.
Run a solid, consistent pace in the desert, try to be the first one in the rocks, set the pace in the rocks to maybe break some people out of the race, but don't break myself.
This is a corrected time race, where competitors don't need to cross the finish line first. They want the overall fastest time on course to win the event.
Oh man, it's going to take a flawless run. So no brakes, no axles, no belts, no problems, no pulling winches, and get it to the finish line the cleanest. That's what's going to win King of the Hammers.
The reality is everybody can break the car in the first 10 minutes if you don't slow down and be smooth. It's a fine line between driving too fast and driving too hard. Where you break the car, you got to finish to win.
There's 8 hours of racing today, with new competitors entering the arena every 30 seconds. Also notable is the wide range of vehicles on course. This year's race sees 6 different manufacturers, the most ever at King of the Hammers. The race today is 2 laps. Completing lap 1 brings the racers back through Hammertown, through Remote Pit 1 again, and then into the notorious rock section of the course. Our first competitors off the line in this UTV main are top qualifiers Cody and Hunter Miller from Texas. This is the first time these brothers have ever raced King of the Hammers, and they have qualified first and second in their Can-Ams.
So my co-pilot for this race is Chad Hughes, and I think this will be his 6th or 7th time racing it. It's a big advantage having him, you know, kind of know where to go everywhere. We get into canyons and I just kind of go cross-eyed, but Chad knows right where to go and knows all the lines, so that's a big advantage. In a UTV, I don't know that you could get around this course without a good co-driver.
Kyle Cheney and last year's winner Mitch Guthrie Jr. are next off the line.
2 years in a row now we've won it. Going for 3 in a row now, which is going to be tough. A lot of competition, but hopefully we can pull it off this year again.
Off the line in 2020, Cheney and Guthrie Jr. find themselves in an all-out sprint in the first 3 miles.
I expect to be running in the top wherever I go. I mean, it's my job, and if not, then it wouldn't be my job. You're not here to win, why come?
Cheney and Guthrie Jr. quickly catch the Millers, and suddenly, a 4-way battle ensues.
It was like short course racing. Like, we were all matted to the wood in crazy dust, and I mean, we had a real race going at mile 3.
Some big names have joined the UTV race today, showing the popularity of the class. Supercross legend Jeremy McGrath is in the hunt, as well as T1 star Bryce Menzies. From remote pit 1, the leaders make their way through Crowbar and Cougar Buttes, where they navigate the notches at mile 29.
Kyle Cheney came in first. Hunter Miller was about 45 seconds behind him. Hope everything looked tight on both cars, so hopefully we can keep it that way. Not even a nick in a tire yet, so we're hoping.
Hunter Miller and Kyle Cheney battle for the lead through lap 1, almost 2 miles ahead of Phil Blurton. A pack of 4 competitors chasing Blurton includes Casey Curry, Rodrigo Ampudia, Matthew Zeiler, and Mitch Guthrie Sr.
I'm making a call right now. There's gonna be a lot of torn up cars before they come back in on the first lap. The desert section is brutal.
Kyle Cheney out front discovers he's leaking transmission fluid and loses the lead.
We were a quarter mile behind him, but over the big flat lake bed, we caught up to him. And there's a real gnarly uphill, real rocky, loose, lots and lots of silt and just bad dust. And we lost the trail.
Despite the lead, Cheney tries to keep Hunter Miller in sight. And then disaster strikes.
It was the wrong spot when we went to try to get back on the trail. It was a drop off, so the car flipped over. And at that point, we weren't too concerned. Things were going good, but sometimes things go bad in a race. And so we flipped it. As soon as we got it about halfway up, I knew we messed up. We forgot to put the car in park, and it started to roll. Once we couldn't get it stopped in about the first 2 feet, it gained momentum, and Kyle was tangled up because he was trying to get in the car, and it just bulldozed him. I thought when that happened, from my point of view, how the car tire folded him over this rock, that he broke his legs. I'm thinking in my head instantly, I don't care about the car anymore. I'm thinking I'm gonna have to get Kyle into the car somehow and drive him straight to a paramedic.
When I went to stand up the first time, I kind of stood up and I felt like rocks on my feet. I'm like, man, I have no shoes on. So I'm like, where are my shoes? And then he threw one of my shoes at me. So I went to put my shoe on and my sock was sticking up, and I'm like, I ripped my toes off. So I'm like, I can't put my shoe on with my toes sticking backwards. So pushed my toes back down, and that way I could get my shoe on. I'm like, we'll worry about this after the race. And I got up to go walk to the car because it was like another 20 yards down the hill. And I went to stand up and I couldn't walk. So I had to like scoot down the hill to the car.
Once we got back in, he's okay. We didn't have any more comms, so I'm using hand signals. And he said it before, it's going to keep more than some pain from finishing this race.
Refusing to give up after being run over by his own vehicle, Kyle Cheney is smooth and efficient in the rocks and picks up time to put himself back in the podium hunt.
We made up a lot of time in the rocks. I mean, we really went through the rocks fast. I mean, I don't think we really missed a line.
Hunter Miller continues to lead the race as he climbs Wrecking Ball.
If you happen to get caught up in the back of the pack, sometimes, you might hit a spot in there where there's a bottleneck and you got to get out of the car, your co-driver does, and help the car in front of you move through just so you can go, because You know, you got a rock canyon on both sides of you that there's no possible way you can get around them without helping them get through.
The leaders avoid any nasty traffic in Backdoor and then make the final 30-mile push back to Hammertown.
We've got Hunter Miller, current leader, out front. Pretty amazing. Roll over, self-recover, run your foot over, get back in the car, maybe have a broken foot, and you're in second place.
An animal is what that's called.
Hunter Miller, driving in his first King of the Hammers race ever, is the first finisher into Hammertown and is confirmed this year's champion.
Wow. Hunter Miller, Chad Hughes, tell us about your day.
It was perfect. And I have to thank the man next to me, Chad Hughes. He kept us so perfect, and we hit every single line. It was absolutely amazing. I don't even know what to say, you know. Next to the day my wife said yes, this is the best day of my life.
Kyle Cheney, racing in his second year at the King of the Hammers, comes in second place.
I told a bunch of people I wouldn't be happy unless I won, but I'm just as excited for Hunter to win, and you know, I'll take the second place any day. You know, from what we went through, it was a tough day.
Man, congratulations, brother.
Thank you.
Phil Blurton rounds out the UTV podium in third place. Coming up next, it's the 4-Wheel Parts Everyman Challenge. Welcome back to the 2020 Can-Am UTV King of the Hammers and 4-Wheel Parts Everyman Challenge.
King of the Hammers is billed as the hardest one-day race, and it's because it's not how fast you're going to get through the course, it's if you're going to get through the course.
Since its inception in 2012, Everyman Challenge has become a vital part of the King of the Hammers.
The EMC is really special because you have multiple classes running simultaneous. So you have a stock class, you have the 4800 class, and you have the 4500 class, all racing at the same time.
This race gives an opportunity to different classes of off-road vehicles to compete together on the trails of Johnson Valley.
So the Everyman Challenge began as like kind of the beginner level classes where you can just get some friends together, build a nice cheap car, and work your way into the sport well.
The 4-Wheel Parts Everyman Challenge features everything from 80s rock crawlers to current-day stock vehicles. The race is broken up into 3 classes. The Yukon 4500 Modified class.
The 4500 class is pretty awesome. It's a closed group of people that are highly competitive. The race could go to almost any one of them at any given time.
The Spider Tracks 4600 Stock class.
It's a smaller class. We all kind of know each other. A lot of camaraderie. It's probably just the challenge of taking something that really wasn't meant to do with what's being done to it and try to get it to survive on the course that, you know, chews up a lot of these legit custom-built race cars.
And the Brannick Motorsports 4800 Legends class.
It's a class designed to give the old 4400 cars that might not be competitive anymore a place to race, and maybe more of a grassroots to get people started.
Each class has its own rules to ensure a level playing field. It also makes the Everyman's Challenge a true driver's race.
The EMC is the driver's class because the car has limitations that prevent you from having equipment that just might overcome the challenges that King of the Hammers presents.
In the Yukon 4500 Modified class, vehicles have factory-appearing bodies, a partial frame, mechanical steering, 2 shocks per corner, and 37-inch DOT-approved tires.
These cars push the limits in every way, shape, and form of being stock modified. You just got to get creative within the rules, try to make things work.
The SpiderTrack's 4600 stock class consists of vehicles with factory engines, a stock frame and full body, single shocks per corner, and 35-inch DOT-approved tires.
We're definitely ready to go. The truck's ready to go. My mind's right. That's a big thing.
Finally, the Brannick Motorsports 4800 Legends class includes vehicles with a tube frame, front engine, 2 seats, a solid axle, single shocks, and 37-inch DOT-approved tires. The Legends class is the fastest growing class at King of the Hammers.
The last couple years, there's a lot of guys stepping up and building dedicated 4800 cars, and they're really getting fast now.
Qualifying for the 4-Wheel Parts Everyman Challenge is on a short course. Today, there is little wind and dust is just hanging on the course, limiting drivers' visibility.
Yeah, historically, we don't like to qualify as the rabbit. We don't want to be right up front. We like to be, maybe top third, top 25% of our class, and then start picking it off. We don't want to be the ones that are out front trying to decide who's behind you and what time gap they have, and whether or not they're closing on you.
I like to qualify up front as far as dust and points and track position, but it just makes it difficult in the race day to pace yourself.
Qualifying first overall with a time of 2 minutes and 56 seconds was Cade Rod.
When in doubt, throttle out was the motive in it, and so it got a little sketchy in a couple times where if we didn't throttle out, we would have rolled or we would have broken the car, and we just kind of stuck to that game plan and we were pushing as hard as we could.
Qualifying second was Bailey Cole in the number 16 car for Cameron Steele's Desert Assassins team.
Qualifying was going great. We dropped down the big wall though and blew a power steering reservoir. Big cloud of smoke happened, and I was a little worried we were on fire, so I was a little timid the rest of the way in. I just wanted to get back to the crew that had all the fire extinguishers and could make sure we were safe in there. Ended up qualifying second overall and right next to Cade on the start line. It's gonna be a good day.
Up next, it's the first lap of the 4-Wheel Parts Everyman Challenge, and an unbelievably tight race unfolds. This episode of World of X Games is brought to you by King Shocks, Amsoil, Tenzer, and Warren Industries. Welcome back to Hammertown in the middle of Johnson Valley, California, where the 4-Wheel Parts Everyman Challenge is about to get underway.
Yeah, so race day here at KOH is it's a little chilly this morning, but that's gonna be okay. We did a lot of work to warm up the car and keep it warm. Ran the wheels and tires and the transmission and used a bunch of heaters, and really excited about being here. Qualified exactly where we'd want to qualify amongst our peers, and just gonna go get them.
Today, over 130 qualified racers in 3 different classes will line up to tackle the 160-mile course.
everybody that's on this lake bed right now. We've been waiting for this day since the last King of the Hammers. So we're ready to just get out there and have some fun, drive hard, and be as safe as possible while going fast.
In designing the course, the theory was to give drivers enough desert to separate the pretenders from the contenders, and try not to create too many bottlenecks for the field. The reality is, 25% of the vehicles will break down or crash out before they even hit the legendary hammer trails.
This course is brutal. There's 3-foot holes, there's 10-foot holes.
This year, the rock sections are harder than ever.
There's rocks that just go on for miles, and then massive boulders that you have to climb basically the side of a 2-story building. Every terrain you'd ever want in the world is all in this desert.
The 4-Wheel Parts Everyman Challenge is a combination of fast desert racing and difficult rock crawling. Most racers say the rocks will determine the winner here today, and some of these Legends vehicles are built for the rocks. As competitive as these racers are, this race is all about camaraderie and helping one another to tackle the course in hopes of crossing the finish line.
A couple years ago, we raced King of the Hammers here, and Jimmy Jack and I were neck and neck, and we ended up having to help each other multiple times to stay where we were. We finished second that year, he finished third that year, and neither of us would have finished had we not stopped long enough to help each other and get the cars righted.
All the people out here would go to bat for one another. They would help each other out, and it's amazing to be a part of this sport and a part of the family.
Green flag is dropped. The first 2 vehicles are off. The 4-Wheel Parts Everyman Challenge is underway.
The green flag drops, and vehicles are off the line in the 4-Wheel Parts Everyman Challenge. Pit 1 sees Cameron Steele and Logan Goodall roll right through with thumbs up and no issues.
But right now, what Cameron Steele is loving is the clean air. But remember, he has got to get through those rocky sections as well.
Steele hits Cougar Buttes and runs into trouble when he breaks an upper suspension link.
Harry's got his helmet off. There's something wrong. And we're about to see Cameron get past.
Cameron's co-driver, Terry Madden, gets out of the vehicle to spot the problem, and 4 competitors immediately pass them, taking alternate lines. Levi Shirley, number 81, escapes the carnage of Cougar Buttes and begins to hunt down Logan Goodall back out in the desert.
Sometimes when you get in those big desert sections, those big whoops, the answer is not slow down.
Shirley will also be racing the 4400 main later in the week, and this race is a great way for him to pre-run the course.
My main deal is just more pre-running time, more seat time, get to burn the course into my mind, and ultimately I think that's what makes you faster.
Logan Goodall continues his charge back to Hammertown, with Levi Shirley about 5 minutes behind him. The Lovell brothers, racing in the 4800 class, make good time into Hammertown in their legendary Ford Ranger and are anxious to get into the rocks.
Yeah, we're doing good. Made a lot of headway in the desert lap there. There are a lot of broken cars out there. We're trying to keep a smart pace out here. Can't wait to get to the rocks and really get to the point where we can get this Ranger working.
In the 4500 class, Dan Fresh, number 88, is the first to arrive in Hammertown after lap 1. Driving with a broken wrist, Dan's still out there battling. His Jeep is in great shape. All 5 tires are good, and he gets a full tank of gas to send him on his way.
It's a little sore right now with a broken wrist, but we're holding it together. Now we're excited to finally get out in the rocks what this car's made for.
In the 4600s, John Schaefer is the first stock driver to arrive in Hammertown and is being chased by Sean McNamara. While many consider lap 1 just to be a warm-up lap for the vehicle and a way to weed out some of the competition, lap 2 is where the race really begins, as it's through the famed Hammer Trails. When we return, Logan Goodall looks to hold off a surging Levi Shirley, Seth Van Dyke, and Brad Lovell in the toughest part of the course, the Hammer Trails. It's one of the tightest finishes in the history of the four-wheel parts Everyman Challenge. Welcome back to the 2020 Four-Wheel Parts Everyman Challenge, part of King of the Hammers in Johnson Valley, California. Lap 1 through the desert is complete, and our field of competitors is entering the notorious rock section of the course, known as the Hammer Trails. Every year at King of the Hammers, the course changes a bit, and this year's rock section has all the drivers a bit nervous.
I don't think video, I don't think pictures, I don't think anything really does it justice. It's crazy.
One of the tightest races in Hammer's history has developed as our leaders start lap 2. Logan Goodall is the first one out of Hammertown to hit Emerson Lakebed. Levi Shirley is hot on his tail, looking to catch Goodall in the rocks. As the competitors begin to climb the hammers, the sand begins to disappear, and boulders the size of vehicles become the trail. The sheer size of these obstacles block vision. Drivers are forced to plan 3 or 4 moves ahead, rather than just attack what's in front of them. It's the point where luck and skill merge. Momentum is key. Tires become hands, and drivers begin to navigate by feeling alone. One wrong move, the drive shaft becomes exposed, and those rocks end your race. Meanwhile, out on Emerson Lake, Seth Van Dyke, anxious to make up some time on Goodall and Shirley, has clocked a top speed of 94 miles per hour. The Lovell brothers, chasing Van Dyke, also make quick work of the lake bed before starting their climb into the Hammers Trails. Levi Shirley, heading downhill on Jackhammer, gets his trailing arm stuck on a boulder and is forced to winch himself down to stay in the race.
Going to go down winch upon a rock. So a lot of times this is a game of inches, Ian, so that if he can get him 1 inch further forward, he's going to get more traction. We saw Levi try to do the wheel side to side, but as you were saying earlier also, how it knocks the sound out of the way, so it creates that bigger gap.
The Lovell brothers maintain constant momentum and consistency through Chocolate Thunder and gain almost 2 minutes on Seth Van Dyke and Levi Shirley.
This is where they shine. Watch them in these rocks. No questions asked. Super smooth. This guy's been rock crawling for almost 30 years.
Meanwhile, the leader Logan Goodall continues to progress through Wrecking Ball. Seth Van Dyke makes a pass on Levi Shirley in the Wrecking Ball. Not to be outdone, the Lovell brothers also pass Shirley when Shirley is forced to winch. In the 4500 modified class, Dan Fresh passes Matt Howell out in the desert and is the first driver into Chocolate Thunder. In the 4600 stock class, John Schaefer is the first competitor to hit Emerson Ridge. Josh Atterbury follows behind him, and making good time is Jesse Haynes in a diesel Mahindra Roxor.
There was a lot of places where we were only going 30. Some of the 4800 guys are going through there twice that fast. But, we got to keep the car together. We're limited on what we can do with the suspension.
Meanwhile in Spooners, the Lovell brothers have caught Seth Van Dyke and Logan Goodall and have taken over the time-corrected lead.
near the end, there were 4 of us in spooners and just dicing it up, passing each other. We got by Levi Shirley. We knew Goodall was out there in the lead. And so we came up on him, and he got stuck down in some rocks to the left. And from following Dan Fresh earlier in pre-running, we knew the line was right up to the right, and it all just lined up perfect. Roger says, hey, cut right, here's your chance. And I just whoop right up by him.
Seth Van Dyke puts a little distance between himself and the Lovels out in the desert, but he has to cross the finish line 5 minutes ahead of them to secure the win. Racing a single-shock Legends class bomber car, Seth Van Dyke has the power, design, and speed to do it, but his final leg has to be perfect. Coming down back door, Seth Van Dyke escapes the rocks and pins it into Hammertown. He then waits anxiously as the Lovell brothers make their final push. In a finale determined by seconds, the Lovell brothers hold on to first place. Seth Van Dyke comes in second, and Levi Shirley rounds out the 4800 podium in third.
10 years ago in this car, we lost the unlimited race by 28 seconds. That's 2010, 2020, we're back. We won the EMC by 28 seconds. It's just so great to be out here with my family, great team, great sponsors. It takes so much to put this race together, and I can't believe we won it.
24 minutes behind Shirley, Dan Fresh, number 88, driving with a broken wrist, is the first 4500 class vehicle to cross the finish line.
Desert Loop was tough for us. This car is really set up for the rocks. That's what it's tuned for, and that's what it's set up for. So we just made it through the Desert Loop, but in the Rock Loop, this thing shines. We're always shooting for number 1. We didn't get the overall today, but we did get first place in class. So really proud of the team, proud of my family, and all the support I get. So yeah, thank you all so much.
Followed by Jimmy Jack in second and Matt Howell in third. And winning the 4600 stock class, it's Jesse Haynes in his diesel Mahindra Roxor.
It's pretty amazing for sure. I definitely didn't expect to come out here and win today. I was hoping to win it for sure at the minimum. The goal was a podium.
John Schaefer comes in second, and Josh Atterbury in third. Congratulations to all the class podiums and all the contenders who finished the race here today at the 4-Wheel Parts Everyman Challenge. Join us next time on ESPN's World of X Games as we cover more intense T1, 4400, and moto action at the 2020 King of the Hammers.